Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. And we have had a lot of fear in the markets lately. So, today's video, we are going to be revisiting the Bitcoin mining stocks. And because there's been extra fear in the markets, we'll see where the price action is holding up at and if we have any really good discounts and deals on Bitcoin mining stocks. So, as you can see, CNN, we are in fear. We've been in extreme fear not too long ago. And even on pie vesting, which tends to hold up a little higher, has dipped down into the fear territory, though it's back up to neutral right now. As far as crypto, because we are looking at Bitcoin mining stocks, though they do follow crypto more so than the general stock market. Crypto, we were in deep extreme fear as well. And something important about that. Well, two things. One, that was as deep a fear as we've ever been. Last time we had a deep spike in fear, we were able to get some good deals. So maybe now we have some more coming. The other important thing to note here is we have lower lows, lower highs in fear and greed. And so right now we are obviously in a downtrend. But when we start making higher lows, of course, subscribe to this channel and I will keep you up to date on that. Every Wednesday, I try to put out Bitcoin mining stock videos. Alt season, as you can see, we're still down here. So if we do get another spike, as we've had before, then hopefully some of our gains can be pretty big as well. Also do Bitcoin rainbow chart videos every Tuesday. Right now it's in the accumulate phase. So one of the lower levels for better value. That's how we have to look at this. When things happen like this, it sucks, but we can get better value. And something that I've been looking out for that I'm hoping holds, as you can see here on this indicator, this is the RSI, the relative strength index. We're on the daily time frame. You can see we are higher in base strength, lower in price. That's bullish divergence. And Bitcoin has been going down in this channel, and it just spiked down to the lower end of this channel. Hit the 50-week moving average and this macro 786 fib, and the candle's staying within this channel. So overall, I think it's holding up pretty decently. Even if next week we have another fat red candle just hanging out down here, I think we might be getting some great rare opportunities to get good deals on all things crypto. But let's get into the miners, and let's start off with Marathon Digital Holding, see where things are at. We'll take a look at these Bitcoin mining stocks on different time frames, of course. So last time we talked, I believe it was the last time I was talking about, maybe it was the week before. Anyways, I was talking about how we had this macro 0.5 fib, and we had all these moving averages on the weekly, the 50, the 100, the 200. And overall, even for Bitcoin having a 30% correction recently from the high to the low, you can see Marathon is holding up pretty good. Now, it did have this wick that's a little lower, and you can see that it's just ever so slightly. We might just draw a trend line here that we are getting lower lows. That is concerning. We did have this higher high right here. So this is concerning. However, you could take a look at this as we saw in Bitcoin, that we are in this downward channel. You guys saw that with Bitcoin too. So maybe we are forming a bull flag here as well. And if that's the case, this is some of the best deals for Mara you might see for a bit. Now, the RSI on the weekly is still dipping down. Let's zoom in on the daily. And as you can see, it's had some good bounce and support off that 0.5 fib. So dojis, these candles, what they mean is that it's undecided as far as whether or not it wants to go up or down. It is trending upwards, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it. We're on the daily now. Maybe encounter some resistance with any of these moving averages and come back down. Maybe we even do test this. But if you want to see if you can get even better deals and you're willing to be patient, maybe you put in a buy order for $16. But with current price, I think it's almost pinching pennies. If you're looking at the macro picture, and Mara making new all-time highs, then you would have to be taking a look up above $83. And I'll show you guys more of a deep dive into what else I look at on the charts outside of what I just show you in these videos. So for one of these mining stocks, which one do I want to do today? Maybe Cypher. I'll add in some extra couple bits of analysis, and maybe I'll do that every week for just one of these mining stocks, do a little bit extra analysis. So right now, in my opinion, I think Marathon, it's holding up on the 0.5 fib quite well and giving us some better deals. This lower low does slightly concern me, but again, that's no different than what Bitcoin's doing as well. With the RSI, by the way, you guys see that? Nice little bounce off the oversold region. So that's a good thing there as well. All right, let's get over to Riot Platforms. And Riot, as you can see, not holding up as well as Merit, though. Now that I drew that trend line, I'm starting to see it more. And that is these lower lows. So just like Bitcoin, you can see Riot is also in one of these downward bear flag channels. So I would like to see Riot hold more strength in the upper part of the channel. However, if you do believe in Riot, right now, not the worst price. Now on the weekly, what we have here, I don't love that, how the strength is still dipping down. We do have this 236 on the macro fib. And by the way, if you're wondering about this fib, we have this fib retracement tool. When we're looking at prices in between, moving forward, we draw from the high to the low, and that's how we get there. So we may get down to this macro 236 fib. That's around $7. You can wait for that, or you can just take what we have off the channel here, because here's the thing with waiting and being patient for this to possibly happen. And I don't know if it is or isn't going to, but like the last couple times here, yes, it did eventually happen after this big sell-off. But here, as you can see, we just jumped right back up. So if you miss this moment where Riot was in the high sevens, the next week it was back up into $10. So, maybe dollar cost average in, put a little bit here, and then see if you can get down there as well. Let's zoom in on the daily. And as far as the daily goes, let's say, we do have some wicks here showing that maybe it wants to get some support, but that is looking kind of weak. So maybe we do see it come back down there. That's kind of what my gut's leaning towards, but we'll see. Maybe we do find support here and start to go back up as well. But again, guys, in my opinion, look at this too, by the way. What do we have here? We have bullish divergence. Higher strength in the RSI, lower price, that's bullish divergence. So there's some bullish sentiment for you too, as far as where it's going. And again, guys, on all these miners, if you've been waiting for deals and discounts, now is the time. If you like any of these stocks enough, after all the research you've done, maybe you've weighed the pros and the cons, and you've bought up here, well, then you should love it down here. And this is a perspective you need to have, is that, hey, I'm getting a 33% discount. This is a third off. Now, of course, we want to look for things like price structure, fib support, moving averages. We're in this channel. And guys, I was talking to someone yesterday who lost a lot of money, and please, please, please make sure you write out a plan. Make yourself a budget so you're not investing more than you can afford to lose. And that way, none of us are perfect. We get things wrong all the time, myself included. But on this channel, I hope you guys who are regular viewers are watching. We're trying to manage our risk in smart ways and get more value out of our hard-earned money. So please, please, please set a budget and religiously stick to it. We talk about fear and greed. Sorry, I'm going to go on a little, just tiny soapbox moment here. We talk about fear and greed so we can view this kind of like robots. We want to remove our emotions from things as much as possible. And if you make a plan, you're able to do so and see fear as opportunity instead of feeling the fear, feeling that pit in your stomach when things go down, and then not investing when we have great deals. That's what happens to so many people is they get greedy, they pull leverage, they lose it all, and then when there's better opportunities, they have nothing to put in there. So we have to make a plan, set budgets, remove your emotions. Of course, nothing here is financial advice. Anyways, let's move on. I wanted to make that short and sweet, but I hope you guys get the point. CleanSpark, man, a bit more weakness. Let's zoom out on the weekly, see if we have a better picture, and boy, do we. That's why we changed time frames here. So you can see RSI is getting lower. However, this candle, it has found some support at the 100-week moving average. That's what it's sitting on. The dark blue's a 200, it's sitting above it because of the up and down movements it's had. So got through this 618 fib, almost to the 0.5, but it's sitting at the 100. If Bitcoin were to show maybe just a touch more weakness next week, I would not be surprised to see if CleanSpark possibly got down here to the 0.5. Seems like it wants to. We'll zoom in on the daily again. But right there, it's holding on to that 100. But again, more weakness. Let's zoom in. And there it actually looks even better. In my opinion, moving averages aside, and yes, these are going to be resistance instead of support now. As you can see, it got back up to the 618 fib. The one thing that is concerning, though, is this candle right here. So instead of forming a base where the wick is higher, the candle's lower, the wick's lower. So that would lead me to believe that, maybe it's holding on to the 618 by a thread, basically. And if it isn't able to keep holding on, we could look for some deals for CleanSpark in around the mid-high $8 range, possibly. But again, if you've bought CleanSpark anywhere up here, one way to think about it, just in case we don't get any further selling, none of us know the future, is, hey, you're getting 25% off. So discounted prices, that's how we got to look at things. If you do your research, and please weigh the pros, weigh the cons. What are the 3 things you love the most about the stock that interests you? What are the 3 things you don't like the most? Find 3 things for and against, and if the pros far outweigh the cons, then hey, I think you got a good one on your hand. Cypher. Let's do a little bit of deeper diving into Cypher. So one thing that we can do with stocks is you can take a look at one of the websites I use is MarketWatch, and I like to take a look at balance sheets, see if things are overall positive or negative, if it's a more risky asset or not. And one thing I'm looking for is on the balance sheet, if we are positive, if we have a positive ratio with assets to liabilities. So if we go down here, and also the trends. So you can see total current assets, don't love that trend for some reason. No, for some reason it's fallen down a little bit. So very low total current assets, jumped up a ton. So got to figure out why that is. Came down, jumped up again. So that's curious. And here, the total assets, though, is going up. So that is promising. We'll take a look at this. Total assets, 600 million. What are the total liabilities? 100 million. Guys, for some of the best stocks in the world, we are looking for at least a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 asset to liability ratio. And right here, I mean, even for the total current assets, it's 5-to-1. So right there, you can see here also the current liabilities are going down, though total liabilities did take a jump up. So overall, that is promising right there. That makes me feel better about Cypher. And of course, maybe that's why it's one of the best looking charts there is. Now, I see a lot of people on Twitter, they show these charts. They're trying to look for deep value, like the GameStop roaring kitty guy. And so they're looking at charts that are just dead, where it's down here. They're like, well, this thing can 20 or 50 or 100x. That's playing the casino game, guys. So when you see a chart like this, what's really nice is that it's slowly grinding up. I love charts that do this because eventually they typically seem to pop off quite a bit. You even see the strength on the RSI holding up pretty well. We have our macro fib drawn. And even from the height here in July 15th, well, let's just take a look recently at what that move did as far as this big sell-off. So Bitcoin 30%, Cypher 57%. So you can take a look at this and say, hey, Cypher, I am getting a 50% discount. Recently it spiked, it was up at $8. Maybe I'm going to miss it. Now it's 50% off. So not a bad time to get yourself some Cypher. The macro fib, you can see it's hanging above the 618 at the daily. At the daily, it held on compared to other mining stocks and altcoins I've been looking at. This one actually is holding on to the 200 daily. And as you can see here, even with the RSI, it didn't get completely oversold. So, I'm looking at this bit of RSI back here. Higher price, RSI still same. So no real divergence one way or the other. But even after that brutal sell-off, and guys, you can see we've had sells like that before. By the way, this date at the bottom, what that corresponds with is the Bitcoin ETF. And after the Bitcoin ETF miner sell-off, it went down 62%. But if you miss this area at around 250, man, you'd be missing out on some great gains. It's gone up over 3x since then. So that's one thing to look for with Cypher. Another thing to look for, guys, when we make our price targets is market cap and fib level. So right now it's at a $1.3 billion market cap. We're going to take this off log scale and we're going to go on just a tiny journey right now. Let's take a look at Mara. Or actually, you know what? How about Riot? I think Riot might be better. So Riot, most recently, let's zoom out here. Its last peak, it got up here at $80. Okay, it did a 10x from here, where it is right now, and the market cap was at around 25 billion. So 10x times 2.5, 25 billion. Okay, we're going to keep that number in our mind right now as a possible target. Market cap right here at 1.3 billion. Let's use 25 billion as a possible price target. So 25 divided by 1.3, that would be almost a 20x. I see 19x on my phone calculator. You can double check my math if you don't believe me. So possible 20x opportunity here. And guys, that's if we get another spike alt season. I'm in the camp where I believe we will. One of the charts I watch is Bitcoin dominance, and every time Bitcoin dominance has tanked, that's when miners have gone off. You can double check the dates if you don't believe me, but April to early May, late 2017, early 2018. I've been here for all these times, guys, and we've hit my base case for where I believe Bitcoin dominance has to be. That's the overall percent of money that's in Bitcoin. The percent gets higher as people try to put their money into safer, less volatile places. So you can watch Bitcoin and Tether dominance, and that shows you something. But when this tanks, that's when miners explode. And so we're almost done with the deep dive here on Cypher if you're waiting for TeraWolf, Bitfarms, or any of those. So again, if we're looking at a possible 20x, something like this going to $80, well, that would be even above any of these fib extensions. And so, right there, if we were to get a alt season where everything's just blowing off, I would be looking at some of these fib levels to see, is it blowing through them? Is it encountering a lot of resistance? Testing it once, twice, who knows? But if it's just starting to rip up and through, it can happen quick. Going back to Riot, we're almost done with this one. You can see for Riot, take a look at that. This is just by the weeks. And we have Riot went up and it was like inside 3 months. We're not going to count this here. You could, but it's inside of, actually, it's more like, 2 to 3 months where all of a sudden it's over. Back in November, or I'm sorry, 2017, November of 2017. I mean, this didn't take long. Again, about 3 months. So maybe things start just to rip up within a 3 month span. It's something you got to be ready for, guys. So, Cypher. Whoop. Oh. So Cypher, that's just some of the things I look for. You can also check volume, support, and resistance. But right now, I think it looks promising. So hope you enjoyed that deeper dive. I'll do that for a different altcoin next, or a different mining stock, maybe something like TeraWolf next week. Speaking of Wolf, let's move on over to that. And Wolf, so recently with that big sell-off, what's the discount we're getting? Well, it was over 50% off. Now it's like 40% off, so not bad. So holding up pretty good. And guys, we've been talking about it since it's been in this uptrend here in this channel, and it broke out. Found some good support here at the 382 fib, had a nice bounce. We also have that 200-day moving average. And right now, price is sitting on the 100-day moving average as support. So that's pretty good. I would not be surprised, by the way, a big sell-off like this, if we had three waves, something akin to right here. Look at that. That was the Bitcoin ETF date again. We can see it down here. So you see 1, 2, 3. Maybe we get something like that. So 1, 2, 3. Maybe we get down to the upper end of this channel that it had before blasting off. But I don't hate TeraWolf at these prices. Yes, maybe you missed 290, but right now it's at 360, and it was at 660. So you're getting $3 off. You're getting 40 to 50% off right now. So if you like Wolf, I don't think it looks the worst. So I would be, if you want a dollar cost average in, that's one way to do it. Maybe put in 50 now, 50 later, out, whatever your budget is. But yeah, I wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity. We do have some green here, probably a buy signal on the daily as well. Or you could wait for confirmation on the weekly, because on the weekly, it's, well, look at that. On the weekly, the fib and the 50 holding up pretty decently, and the candle's staying with the 100. So right now, TeraWolf, all these looking kind of juicy, in my opinion. I know there's talks about recessions, guys, but until the Fed cuts rates, by the way, from the charts and the data I've seen, once the Fed first starts cutting rates, typically, even in hard landing recessions, there's still about 2 to 4 months after the first rate cut where the market can still go up quite a bit. So go back, check the data if you don't believe me. But I am still thinking there are some gains out there, though it is becoming more volatile and risky, no doubt. All right, Bit Digital, we are on the weekly, cool. Came down and it's resting. It's crazy. We have these big 30% moves down and people think the sky's falling. But if you take a look at it on the charts, you'll see how it still tends to fit pretty nicely within what we've been looking at. And Bit Digital has support on the 382. So, and it's hanging on to a couple different moving averages right here, the 100 and the 50. So maybe you want to wait for confirmation, strength to flip to the upside. And as far as the daily, you can see here, doing pretty well with the 200. So encountering some resistance at the 100. We have the doji, it's deciding what to do. And it's possible it could go either way. But if it comes down, you could get some extra value from the 250, 260 range. And as far as the RSI goes, the bottom is still a touch higher. So it's like ever so slightly bullish divergence, but the RSI didn't get deeper. So that's a good thing. So yeah, it's pretty much very similar stories with a lot of these. Bitfarms. All right, let's zoom out here. Let's draw this fib out just a little bit more. And let's take it to about there. There we go. It's probably not perfect. Maybe we can zoom in on the daily and see. Actually did all right. So Bitfarms came down to the .5 fib. It's got support right there. It has fallen underneath this trend line we've been watching from these higher lows, so that is concerning. I wonder if there will be some resistance as it possibly tries to make some moves back up. We'll see. Trend lines are only good for as long as they're good for. But man, look at this weekly candle. This thing fell off over 30%. So Bitfarms, it was up here at around 316. Now it's in the high $1 range. So we'll see if that can hold. Right now it's saying $1.94. So yeah, it's just hanging out right at the .5. It's hanging out right at the .5. Hopefully that offers support. If this were to break down, of course, you see a lot of price action, a lot of fib support right here at the 382 around the low $1 range. But if you've been eyeing Bitfarms and it was too rich for you at almost double the price near 360, maybe that's when you saw it, and all of a sudden you see it here. Guys, time in the market's more important than timing the market. If you've been wanting to get in and you've been keeping an eye on it, this is some of the deepest value we've had, since we broke up here in December of 23. So within the last 8 months, we've only had this opportunity in here before. So, good discounted prices. But again, if it did fall down further, I wouldn't be shocked. But I have a feeling it might get a little relief and then settle back down here. So overall, I do think it's a nice area there for Bitfarms. Iris Energy, let's take a look at what this one did, because this one had a good breakout. We were following on the trend line, hit a huge breakout. It got up there to the 786, and isn't that funny? We drew this trend line, and man, the thing came right back down to it and found support, as well as a couple other areas of support, the 200-day moving average and the 618 fib. And it's sitting on there pretty nicely as well. So I think this is, again, same story. I think this is good value, and we're showing good, strong support for Iris Energy. I know it sucks, if you bought something, I know it sucks to see it go up and then fall 50, 60%. Right now, it's 50% off. That's the way I look at it. This thing was $15, $16, and right now it's 50% off, and only a market cap of 1.3 billion. Remember, we might be looking, if we do get another alt season, something like 20 to 30 billion for the tops of some of these coins. In my opinion, that would be, one of my most bullish targets should we get another alt season for crypto. So right here, not looking too bad in my opinion. Now, if it does come up a little bit, let's say it keeps doing, what it's been doing, comes up and then comes back down, wouldn't be totally surprised. We did just hit the oversold area on the RSI though. And look at that, guys. We have not hit the oversold area of the RSI since October of 23. And yes, it can go lower. Remember what I was talking about with bullish divergence? This is a great example right here. Lower prices, higher RSI. So that was screaming at you during this time that, hey, this thing's getting ready to flip. So, is it possible that we get something similar here? Where we slowly go down to the trend line again? Sure, it's possible. But, me personally, I wouldn't want to miss out on prices here. And I would just love dollar cost. If that did play out, something like this, I'd love the dollar cost average in if it were to do the same thing during that time. That's just me, though. All right. Anything we want to take a look at otherwise here? Sorry, phone's buzzing. Let's go to our last one, and that is Core Scientific. So with Cores, you can see here, man, I was curious to see what this one is going to do because it's a newer miner. And even with that massive sell-off, okay, a couple things happened here on the daily. Came down to the 382 and had a really good bounce. So we drew a fib from the low to the high. Okay, we don't have enough data to really draw from the high to the low. So we're just trying. We had this big move, low to the high, came down to the 382 and had a really nice bounce. It also came down to the 100-day moving average, even though the thing, it's very new, it's more risky. But right there, that's looking promising to me. If whoever you guys are in the comments who've been telling me about cores, it was at 40% off. And then as you can see, after it had that 40% off level, it's already come back up to 985. So that's a quick recovery. Again, I'm not going to invest in this one. I don't chase new assets, IPOs, new altcoin releases. I like to give them a little bit more time. But this one, there's no denying it's showing a lot of strength. And even with that last big flush we had, it's already showing a lot of strength to the upside. So, this could be a minor correction where it goes up and then down, maybe makes a higher low. It sits at this 236 and that 50-day moving average. Maybe it comes back down to something like 850. That wouldn't shock me. If you're willing to be more patient, that'd be something I would target personally. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. They're all around 30 minutes. Comment below. What do you think of the recent flush? Do you think there's more to come in the short, medium term? Do you think that we are going to start ripping up into Fed rate cuts, even soon after? That's kind of my base case. But I welcome all other thoughts as well as we try to grow the community on this channel here. So let me know in the comments below. What do you think of these miners? And where do you think we're going in the short, the medium term, from now till the end of the year? So anyways, thanks for watching. Take care.